Dinosaurs, A Lost World, a pop-up book by Mr. Everything Man. The dinosaurs ruled the earth for many millions of years. They first appeared about 225 million years ago. The last of the dinosaurs died about 65 million years ago, long before the appearance of humans. The name dinosaur means terrible lizard, but many dinosaurs were not terrible, and none were lizards. Though there were some small dinosaurs, no one bigger than a chicken, most of them were large, and some were enormous, as tall as a 25-story building. Yet many of the dinosaurs were peaceful plant eaters. Only a few kinds were meat eaters. Most of what we know about the dinosaurs is based on our studies of bones and teeth now turned to fossils. The first dinosaur fossils were found as early as 1677 in England. So then fossilized bones, teeth, footprints, or skin parts have been found in many parts of the world. The world of dinosaurs was very different from the one we know today. There were few large animals or plants that we would recognize. The continents and the seas were not the same as those we know. This book shows how some of those ancient animals lived and died in a world no longer with us. Selophius is one of the earliest dinosaurs that lived in North America. Its skeleton reveals that Selophius walked on strong hind legs. It had a long bird-like neck, a small head, and a long tail. Its bones were hollow. Its sharp teeth tell us that it was a meat eater. Similar bird-like dinosaurs have been found in Germany, Scotland, and Africa. Selophius was not a very big dinosaur. About 3 feet tall at its hips, Selophius weighed not much more than 100 pounds and looked something like a large bird without feathers. Scientists believe its skin was scaly, like a lizard's. Selophius was a swift runner. With its great speed and sharp teeth, it probably caught and ate small lizards, early mammals, furry, shrew-like egg layers, and as well as insects such as cockroaches and dragonflies. Also, it may have hunted in packs as wolves do today. A group of these small dinosaurs could even have attacked and eaten larger plant-eating dinosaurs. Selophius probably laid small eggs and cared for its young after the eggs hatched, much of the way birds do. In fact, some scientists think that Selophius was warm-blooded and that these small, hollow-boned dinosaurs may have been the ancient ancestors of birds. Perhaps the most familiar dinosaurs are those with long necks and tails, and small heads, and thick teeth or tree-like legs. Tree-like legs. These dinosaurs usually walked on all 4 feet and ate the leaves of tall plants. They belonged to a group of dinosaurs called sauropods, which means lizard foot. Brachiosaurus was the largest of the sauropods, possibly the largest animal that ever lived on land. This enormous creature was taller than a 4-story building and weighed as much as 12 large elephants. It lived in the forests of western North America and East Africa more than 100 million years ago. Like all sauropods, Brachiosaurus had thick, stumpy legs and big feet. It was called Brachiosaurus, which means arm lizard, because unlike most other sauropods, its front legs were much longer than its hind legs. Brachiosaurus fed from the leaves at the tops of trees, the way giraffes do today. With its 28-foot-long neck, Brachiosaurus could reach the tops of 40-foot trees. Though its head was small and its jaws not very strong, Brachiosaurus had a large stomach to hold all the food it needed to provide energy for its huge body. Brachiosaurus was a slow-moving animal that depended upon its size for survival. It must have been successful because it lived on the earth for many millions of years. Some scientists believe that a few individuals may have lived to be 20 years old. More than 100 million years ago, much of the world was underwater, and the condiments we know today were just beginning to take shape. In those times, the giant reptiles of the sea were the Pleiasaurs. Some Pleiasaurs were 40 to 50 feet long. Their skeletons show that the Pleiasaurs had squat bodies and stubby tails but long necks. They swam with powerful strokes of their broad paddle-shaped legs. Scientists studying their skeletons believed that the Pleiasaurus could swim just as well backward as forward. They could probably turn their bodies around instantly by stroking on one side and backing water on the other. Pleiasaurus were mainly fish eaters. Ichthyosaurs were similar animals that swam in those ancient areas. The Ichthyosaurus was reptiles, but their bodies resembled the dolphins of today. Like dolphins, the Ichthyosaurus could swim as well as fish and have birth to live young in the water. The largest flesh eater of all time was the Tyrannosaurus rex. Its name means king of the tyrant lizards. This enormous hunter measured more than 40 feet from nose to tail and weighed 5 or 6 tons. It stood 20 feet high on its hind legs, as tall as a 2-story house. Tyrannosaurus fossils have been found in the northwest regions of North America. Tyrannosaurus is shown here attacking a smaller Brachiosaurus. Tyrannosaurus had a huge head, more than 4 feet long from front to back. Its teeth were 6 inches long and jagged on each side, ideal for cutting up meat. Like many other dinosaur hunters, Tyrannosaurus stood on its hind legs. It probably could not run as fast as Allosaurus or some of the smaller hunters, but its leg strength was important in capturing and holding its prey. Its great feet had 4 toes, 3 that pointed forward and 1 reversed. Tyrannosaurus had small arms with 2 tiny fingers. They would have been useless for catching anything. Some scientists believe that the arms were useful in helping the huge animal rise from a lying position on the ground. Many dinosaurs were well adapted to defend themselves against attack. Stegosaurus was a large plated dinosaur. It was a plant eater whose defense was its armor. Even though Stegosaurus was about the size of an elephant, it had a very small head and a little more than a foot long. 2 rows of bony plates ran along its back and down part of its tail, which was also barbed with bony spikes. Despite its armor, Stegosaurus was no match for the flesh-eaters that preyed upon it. Triceratops was a plant eater with an enormous armored head. Its skull measured 7 feet from its nose to its neck shield. The horns above its eyes were as long as meter sticks. Large numbers of Triceratops roamed the earth plains of the American Northwest. It was one of the last of the dinosaurs to die out. Ankylosaurus was protected by a heavy coat of armor, about 15 to 20 feet long and weighing about 5 tons. Ankylosaurus had triangular spines on its skull. Spines on its skull. Its armor was made of thick, bony plates that set close together in a leathery skin. The plates ran the length of its body down to its rounded, cub-like tail. This peaceful plant eater relied on its armor for defense. Allosaurus was a truly fearsome hunter. It was more than 30 feet long and weighed between 3 to 4 tons. A powerful runner, it covered the ground in huge strides in pursuit of its prey. Its front legs were only half as long as its hind legs. The 3 fingers on each front leg had sharp claws and were used for grasping. Allosaurus had a 3-foot-long head and a short neck. Its eyes were very large, and its 3-inch knife-like teeth were noticed on both edges. They could cut, saw, or rip through meat. The jaws were hinged so that a large chunk of flesh or a small animal could be swallowed whole. Allosaurus also fed on some of the giant plant eaters, such as the Brontosaurus. Fossil bones of an Allosaurus family have been found in the western United States. Newly hatched babies were probably cared for by adults. Some scientists think that these dinosaurs even may have had nurseries where a few adults cared for all the young of a herd. Artaphorus was the first bird-like reptile. The long feathers on its arms caused scientists to call it by a name that means old wing. Without its feathers, Artaphorus is exactly like small dinosaurs of the time. Yet Artaphorus feathers are almost identical in kind to those of birds today. Artaphorus had rows of teeth, a long bony tail, and 3 long fingers with claws, all of which are dinosaur-like. Its tail had a fringe of large feathers on either side. The 5 known fossils of Artaphorus were found in the limestone rocks of southern Germany. Artaphorus was more of a glider and less of a flyer than the birds of today. It probably climbed trees and then launched itself into the air to catch flying insects. It may have scooped up the insects with the feathers on its arms and then used its claws to put them into its mouth. Birds today are descendants of Artaphorus. Pleiasaurus were not, strictly speaking, dinosaurs, but were gliding reptiles related to the dinosaurs. Pteranodon, above left, was a giant among these animals with a huge wingspan. A specimen found in Texas had a wingspan of 51 feet from tip to tip. With its light weight and large wings, Pteranodon could glide for long distances, scanning the ocean waters for fish. Pterodactyls, above right, were similar but smaller flying reptiles. On land, all of the pterosaurs must have been clumsy and almost helpless. They became airborne simply by dropping from the edge of high cliffs. The Parasalpherus was a dinosaur with a crest on its head. The crest, twice the length of the dinosaur's skull, was a long, bony tube that curved backward from a head-like horn. A head like a horn. Parasalpherus breathed air through the crest. The air went into its nostrils at the tip of the tube and then into the animal's lungs. Some scientists think that the crest helped to improve the animal's sense of smell. This dinosaur was about 30 feet long and weighed 3 or 4 tons. It ate all kinds of plant materials. Besides a keen sense of smell, Parasalpherus had good sight and hearing and probably browsed in herds that were alert to any sign of danger. The dinosaurs disappeared about 65 million years ago. No trace of them can be found after that time. The dinosaurs were not the only animals to die out then. Many other reptiles and smaller forms of life disappeared, as did many kinds of plants. What I could have caused these life forms to vanish? One theory is that huge asteroid or comet crashed through the Earth's atmosphere and struck its surface, creating an enormous crater more than 125 miles across. Some scientists believe the impacts would have thrown a large cloud of dust into the sky, which would have cracked the earth and blocked the sunlight for months. Temperatures would have fallen, and the earth suddenly would have become much colder. Also, the dust in the air would have prevented green plants from using sunlight to make food. 3 months of darkness might have been just long enough to kill the plants and then the animals that fed on them. Another theory is that the death of the dinosaurs resulted from a supernova explosion in a nearby star, as shown here. A star exploding near our solar system could have generated a great pulse of deadly radiation that could have killed many kinds of animals and plants. Other scientists think the dinosaurs became extinct in a much less dramatic way. They believe that the Earth became gradually colder over thousands of years, and that the dinosaurs and many other animals became extinct because of the change in climate in which they could not adapt. We may never know which, if any, of these theories is true. The end of the dinosaurs may always be a mystery. Dinosaurs, the giants of another age that we really like. How did they live, and why did they die out? This book tells you about, we know dinosaurs, and that we know about the way they lived and raised their young, and gives the most scientific theories about why dinosaurs did not survive. Yet this is no ordinary dinosaur book. In addition to providing fossils, providing all the facts, it provides the pictures and the corresponding skeletal structures in 3 dimensions. Beautifully illustrated and ingeniously devised and designed, this is an extraordinary book for the young scientist and for dinosaur admirers in all.